Hi, everyone. Can you all hear me, see me? Lee, can you hear me? Was everything a-working?
I can't see.
Hey, Cole. Okay, hi, Lil John. Hi, Juan. Hi, Lee. Hi, Adva. TS, Maricela. Hi, Stacy. All right. So I'm going to show you all this because when I tell you stuff is wonky tonight, my phone says it's 9:41 at night. It also says it's Wait 1 second. It also says that it's Tuesday, January 9th. And I checked, and this year, January 9th is, you can hear and see, but there's some sort of noise. I think that's Nicole's background, but I've done all I can on this end, I think. It's just picking up stuff. When she try your lavalier mic again. So here's what's funny. My phone has said that and has said that it's 9:41 for the last 45 minutes. The time is not changing. So I don't know what's happening at 9:41 on Tuesday, January 9th, but Emily has also an iPhone. We're obviously on the same Wi-Fi, and hers says that it's November 17th at the proper time. So when I tell you that stuff is wonky around me, so Spirit, if it's my highest good, please apply the We Are Groot Cleanse to all of mine and Nicole's technology tonight. It's been interesting.
I plugged in them. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. There's still a little background noise, but it feels a little bit better.
All right, I'll do it at best. You're in a sunset. What can I do?
Yes. Okay. So if everybody wants to say, right, Juan? I don't know.
Right? Yeah. I literally was going to say that one too.
Yeah. So, and I'm going to take very good care of myself on January 9th. I'll have to ask pull cards on that later.
Yeah.
So if everybody wants to take a second and say hi to Nicole. Can you all see Nicole? Too, since we're having, yeah, it might be the fan. She's using a Mac. Are you using MacBook Air? My fan on my MacBook Air was so loud all the time.
I haven't upgraded yet. Sorry.
No, it's not. It's not Nicole. It's everyone else. Hi, Temperance. Hi, Shauna. Hi, Gemini Love and Odette. Hi, Shiganama Fall. At Gibson.
Hi.
Okay, great. There we go. And yes, and Nicole.
I wish I had the chat up here because I keep having to look down at my phone.
That's what I use pop sockets for. I place it on my phone. Okay, so we're going to talk about this full moon in Gemini. It is kind of a doozy. So before we do that, we want to talk about what's the vibe of a Gemini moon. What are some of the themes that we may see on a personal level? There are some really amazing astrologers that I recommend that you follow, like Lori Rivers, and Lori is Laurie, who does the most exquisite mundane astrology. She can talk about the stuff happening in the collective. I'm not gonna do that tonight. Not because I don't have an opinion, because of course I do. But it's just everything is so fragile and volatile right now. So in the collective and things going on and what we may see with this Sagittarius Gemini moon. But we want to talk about how that Gemini moon plays out, in that energy plays out. And when we're talking about Gemini, what are some of the themes that we might see in your lives, how can this express? And the other thing we'll be talking about is, what is a full moon? Yeah, I know Gemma loves her too. I love Lori because when she speaks about the collective stuff, she was also a political analyst, and she's lived all over the world and she knows her stuff. So I'm just a huge fan of her intellect, her delivery, her kindness, her ethics, all of that. For mundane, and she doesn't really pull punches. And of course I like that. You're going to get detail from her. She's amazing. But we want to talk about what is a full moon. And so how can you use full moon energy and how might this express? And then we're also going to go through the houses. We even have a little slideshow so we can go through, all the houses and how that layer of it, what subjects, may this affect in your chart. Does everyone have their charts? Does everybody know their rising sign and the degree of their rising sign? Because that's going to be important so you don't feel lost or you're not sure which house. This moon is happening at 4 degrees and 51 minutes. So if you have a rising degree that's less than that, then you would be looking at the house prior, depending on where your rising falls, your ascendant. Hi, Kina. We are using Placidus. I am an evolutionary Western tropical astrologer that believes in the possible growth and not a fatalistic approach. And hi, Verity and Betty. I use Placidus, so that's what we're using. And Nicole, I want to give her a moment here. Nicole has been studying astrology for quite some time. And
just work with me here because I've studied on whole sign. Susie's the expert with Placidus, so I'm going to roll with it.
In whole sign compared to Placidus in this, that 4 degrees and whichever house system you use, it's those degrees are going to land in your chart where those degrees land in your chart. Right. So let's just take a look. There we go. So I'm just going to blow this up a little bit. So this is what we're looking at for that Gemini moon. Nicole, you may have to see this on your phone. So we're just going to look at this for a second. Let me move everything around. This is why I love OBS, because it gives me options. Okay. So at 4:15 in the morning on November 27th, that is when we have this Gemini full moon. The moon will be at 4 degrees and 51 minutes. And then, of course, the sun in its opposite sign of Sag will be at 4 degrees and 51 minutes. On a collective, this is going to have a Taurus rising. It will be different for all of you, depending on what your rising sign is. So it doesn't mean it's going to be in everybody's 1st and 7th house. For some of you, it will be. But this full moon is opposing also a Mars, conjunct the sun. And the other very interesting thing is it is squaring Saturn in Pisces. A along with that, we have a really interesting, it's not attached to the moon's energies. It's not directly aspecting or talking to this moon, but simultaneously we have a conjunction between the South Node and Venus, which do you feel like that's been coming up in your readings?
I see it's been coming. Yeah.
And then
Yes.
yeah. And so I feel like that's been coming up in my readings, both astrological chart readings I'm doing with clients and in any kind of like channeled tarot, pendulum, that kind of stuff. That could mean for some of you that's going to be information because it's still an air sign, it's swords, it's communication. It could be information that comes directly through a person or in a roundabout way that helps you maybe repair some of your self-esteem around that matter. If you feel like somebody left you with a part of you haven't yet repaired, that kind of took a little dent on your self-esteem, this transit, completely separate from the full moon, still could play out very interesting for a lot of you. And maybe Nicole and I will go like live on TikTok or something and just do like Venus conjunct South Node readings. That would be fun. Just like tarot and stuff. Yeah. I'm just coming up with this now. So Nicole's as surprised as you all. Okay. So when we have, this is a combustible sun, it's a combustible Mars, we have a lot of energy. We have the sun and Mars in fire signs. And
Fire sign.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Nicole.
No, there's a lot of my energy, so there's going to be a spotlight.
Yeah, and so if we're going to talk about this moon, this full moon, we have a moon, and Gemini moon sometimes wants to think its feelings. And the reason you might meet somebody who's a Gemini and they might feel like they try to think their feelings more than they feel their feelings as a Gemini moon. And I'm thinking of an old friend that I used to yell at all the time going, you have to feel your feelings. You can't think them. So, but.
Same with my.
Yeah. The thing is that they learn to think their feelings because often when they have felt like they have emoted their feelings, when they have been vulnerable in the way our moon sign asks us to be when we're kids, we naturally want to be vulnerable within our moon sign and express ourselves within our moon sign. They may have not been met all the time with the safety that should have been provided by an authority figure. They may not have felt that their expressed emotion was met with any remedy or help or support or safety. This can come in varying degrees for a Gemini moon, but there's usually some kind of theme around safety and authority, whether that was parents, people at school, feeling where they maybe should have felt safe in places where they didn't and felt like their feelings were being hushed. They may have had an authority figure in their life that didn't want to be like bothered with their feelings, like go away with your tears, that kind of thing. This is a learned behavior. It's a trauma response behavior. There's no one in here. Things are just flying. Weird stuff today, people. And so
because my mom was a Gemini moon, in the moon ruling the mother, she had 15 siblings, and then Mercury's the ruler of
so they can often, there's some reason they may not feel heard.
Yeah.
Or taken care of in a way that you're supposed to be taken care of as a child.
Yeah.
When we see this full moon squaring Saturn, and Saturn is in Pisces. And if you've been following me, I keep talking about how like this is a kinder, gentler Pisces in some ways, right? It feels different than Saturn we've experienced for the last 6 years in a Saturn ruled sign. Or the last 5 years. I'm not mathing right now. So it feels a little different, but also, you know, part of what Saturn does in a personal way, it's our self-actualization, it's our self-governing, but it also helps us provide boundaries. And when we don't give ourselves boundaries, when we don't self-actualize, when we don't self-govern, that is when we see Saturn as big bad sky daddy that gives us consequences, right? And so in Pisces, Pisces can, I always talk about the cotton candy walls of Pisces so that it won't, it may not, it's the boundaryless, it's the boundaries in a sign that kind of feels like it's without boundaries. So very much like the energy of a child with Gemini moon, feeling like the authority is not stepping in and giving boundaries to somebody opposing it, to somebody it feels fear from somebody, you know, there's a lot of power between the sun in a fire sign and Mars in a fire sign. That's a lot of power. This is a little David Goliath we have going on here. And that Saturn may not show up in solid consequence right away. That Saturn may not show up to intervene in the way that we would like to see Saturn sometimes. Sometimes we need Saturn to come in and be big bad sky daddy and tell all the kids to sit down, stop fighting, right? And we're not getting that. It's kind of like, it's a little wishy-washy, but it can show up in other ways. Nicole, what would you like to add to the whole this particular full moon?
Well, with this Saturn square, I think we need to practice acceptance and patience and endurance, especially with Mars and the Sun. We're going to feel like our vital energy just wants to be aggressive and go, go, go.
Yeah.
And with the lackadaisical boundaries, we're going to have to find that balance. So, it's a great opportunity for us to find the balance and what the landing is for us.
Kind of for ourselves. So right. This to me is a big full moon, and I know it's not on the nodal axis, and I know it's not an eclipse, and I know we've just had eclipses and nodal axis eclipses, and I get that, but I feel like this is a bigger full moon due to the fact that it's an exacerbated energy of that who's keeping us safe, David and Goliath kind of energy, and realizing that somebody may not be coming in to lay down the boundaries. And it's, you know, the moon is insular. It's our subconscious. It really is how we not just because how we love can be divvied up between the moon and Venus, and how we express and communicate that love is in our Mercury, right? And how we physically show that love is in Mars. So love isn't just the moon, but how it can be really is how we experience things on a very personal, insular level. And so this moon may make you feel really insular. Hi, Sun Empress. It can make you feel really insular and like, where's the support? Where is those, like, where's the help coming in? Because this feels like David and Goliath, and who's saying, hey, you know, Goliath, you have no business fighting David. And what part of us do we have to like reach down and grab? Exactly how Nicole said, you know, that resilience and that finding, our strength, this
especially people access. We're going to be thinking through our emotions.
Yeah. And so, this full moon is is going, it's going to bring us kind of our arc, for our protagonist in our stories, in each of our stories, right? There's that moment. Mine was in 8th grade, right? We all have that moment where we're put in a position to have to be stronger than we thought we could. And when we show up for ourselves, and like Nicole said, in like independence, finding our independence, when we show up for ourselves, that's kind of usually like the arc in our own personal empowerment and hero stories. And I feel like this full moon has such a big vibe of that. Very David and Goliath, very like consequences for the other people are going to probably show up later. And it may show up in a very personal way because people conflate karma and justice, right? So the consequences for them may show up in a way that you don't get to see. And holding yourself hostage, waiting to see that, may be part of the lesson in this full moon as well. Does anybody in the chat have any questions while I hand this over to Nicole again for a minute and ask her, how do you feel about like Saturn's role in all of this?
I don't know, like Saturn, it's gonna make us, well, I don't know. Let's do it through the houses. I can explain it.
All right, so let's talk about the fact that because it's such a weird Saturn to kind of like put our fingers on it. When it's in Pisces, it's just kind of not acting the way that Saturn normally acts. And it's still coming, it came out of retrograde November 4th. But it's still at that 0 degrees. It's still, I think that the consequences will be delayed. For anything happening during this time, I think we'll see delayed consequences, possibly when we're looking at the new moon in June. Is it June or May? I believe it's June. When we're looking at the new moon in May or June, that's when. That is possibly
a few days before this new, when the sun's at 0 degrees and Saturn's at 0 degrees. We're going to feel our vital feel so restricted. I feel like we might need to.
Yeah. The other thing that we want to talk about is this as a full moon. In general, full moons are for closure. They are for giving away what no longer serves you. And that sounds like an easy thing to do. Like, why would you want to keep anything that's no longer serving you, that's no longer benefiting you? But the human condition, does not make that always easy. And what I love to say about a full moon is this is the time, if you're on a metaphysical level, on an intention level, to write things down, burn it safely. I always say that, safely, people. I don't want to hear anybody like burn down their bathrooms or anything else. Safely burn something. And if you cannot safely burn it, you can rip it up, flush it. This is the time to let that energy of universe, let this closing energy take things away from you that you're having a hard time getting rid of on your own. I always liken it to like putting stuff at the water's edge, and you just want it to go away. But until that big wave kind of takes it out to sea for you, you can feel like every time you turn around, it's still there. You don't want it anymore. You want to walk away from it. But this is for the stuff that's harder to let go of. This is for the stuff that's, we're working on her mic a little bit. It's going to be what it's going to be, I think. My phone says it's Tuesday, January 9th at 9:41. So we're clearly having technical issues that we can't help, but we don't want to not do the live. Nicole, anything about full moons?
No, it's just the culmination of closures. coming out. The energy expansive, the sun's shining, reflecting. So our spotlight.
That's so important what she just said, that the sun is reflecting on the moon as well in that opposition position. And we all know what that brings. That brings truth a lot of the times. So things we didn't want to see. And also when we have the sun in Sag, that is belief systems. That is philosophy, theology. That is... and it's the collective theology. It's the collective, right? It's usually not ours. It belongs to other places, other cultures. So, I mean, we can see a clash of theologies, and we can see a class of philosophies and ideas around things on a world stage right now. All of us can see that. So again, it can feel very David and Goliath. And so while people are trying to decide where they land on an issue, we could see a lot of truth come out towards the end of November. It doesn't have to be about the big one going on globally. It could be about something in your life. It could be something else that's going on more locally for you. But I would expect some big revealing, especially with Mars again involved. And Sag is not known for being shy with what it thinks, and Gemini loves to talk. Gemini, you know, so that I would expect that this could be very he said she said truth, and I would expect that that no one will be passive aggressive about it. This is not a passive aggressive moon for me.
No, absolutely not.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? Aries full moon a couple months back was the degree of your Aries rising. Oh, I'm sure you felt that. Does anyone else have any questions about full moons or about the vibe of this full moon, or have questions about Gemini moons, or Sag sun? You know, and you could be finding yourself also having conversations you didn't expect to have. Sagittarius sun that's somebody who's interested, that vibration, that energy of Sag sun is interested in illuminating. Hi, Tanya. Illuminating and having a conversation about everything. Sag sun does not want to talk about the little stuff, the surface stuff. They want to talk about the big stuff. So again, truth and conversations coming out around this full moon could be around more complex subjects. The existential conversation at 3 o'clock in the morning on your kitchen counter, right? That is this energy.
It's interesting because it's what the higher learning. And Gemini loves learning. It's curious. Mm-hmm. So curious to see how that's going to play out, because maybe more Gemini be more open. I feel like, I don't know necessarily if the Sagittarius could be more open to the Gemini, because sometimes they're both are a little more rich.
Yes. And it's interesting because Sag and Gem get along really, really well normally in real life, right? But the Sagittarius wants to have an all-encompassing conversation about one thing, one ideology, one philosophy. And Gemini is like, we have to embrace both. Maybe we should embrace both. Let's look at both sides of this, right? Yeah. So again, I just find this full moon really, really interesting.
It's fascinating.
Yes. Okay. So no other questions are coming in. Let's start looking at this moon through the different signs. And we have a little... There we go. I'm just gonna put that up here so it's behind. You know what, Nicole? Well, I am, as my mom would say, futzing around with this. Do you want to try to just try your mic one more time?
My mic's, but it's not doing that.
Let's try it without the mic. I don't know which one is better because you're kind of cutting up a little bit. There we go. All right. So here's the transit again. Lee, which one is the slideshow? Yeah,
All right. Took the mic off.
Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. All right, hold on one second.
Think of this so patient.
Okay. All right, so this is okay. Okay, so let's start with Gemini rising. If you are a Gemini rising, this is going to be in your first house. Right? Or is this Taurus rising? I am not understanding. Here we go. Gemini rising. This is in your first house. Yep. So, Nicole, how do you see this playing out for people with Gemini rising, or for anyone where that 4 degrees is going to land in their first house? So you could be a late degree Taurus rising and also have this in your first house, which I actually think you do, don't you? Do you have this first 7th? This 4 degree? Maybe in Placidus.
Right.
Okay.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to feel like relationships, other people on tracks are the spotlight right now. Your voice is going to feel small. You're not feeling heard. I feel like you have to be able to express your emotion to somebody, or they're not hearing you. It feels like, it feels like you want to express, but that the spotlight is not you, it's on somebody else. And they're not hearing you. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, I feel that this happening in your first house for all of our Gemini risings. And where are my Gemini risings in here? I know we have at least one.
Or you could just feel small.
Yeah.
Like looking for attention.
How I'm seeing this astrologically is that 7th house power. This could feel where you feel a little maybe powerless in a relationship. Maybe that you're with somebody that doesn't give you space to shine, and you don't really feel safe in that. You might not feel safe in that relationship. If you are waiting for something to break so that you can feel more independent, that may be around career, that may be feeling like, this person may have a lot of big ideas. They may have a lot of bravado. They may have a lot of energy, and it may feel like in that 7th house where people can start, see that it's above the horizon line, that power, that maybe people even look at you like, what are they doing with you? And waiting for something to break in what you do, who you are, to make you feel more powerful. And I think that if you are waiting for that career or that public reputation to give you the strength to not feel as powerless in your relationships, I feel like this is when you dig down and you don't wait for a thing, a person, a career, like anything. You're going to have to dig deep down. You'll probably have an epiphany around this time for yourself. You're going to have to stand on your own 2 feet and not look for qualifiers or someone else to say that you can, not to have public opinion in that public house.
Oh, it's definitely be happening. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Not look for that power to be given to you by partner or but some publicly qualifying, blessing, bound Saturn structure. And exactly what Nicole said, like feeling small. And so I really hope, hi Katie. And I hope that for all my Gemini risings, that you don't look left and right and think that other people are more important than you because they are public persona. It looks more important as to social constructs and whatnot. Okay.
Yeah, it kind of feels like you have to be the power. You have to be the authority, and it feels like, hey, your voice needs to be heard.
I absolutely agree. Okay, let's get here is our Cancer rising. Cancer rising, this is happening in your 12th and 6th houses. If you're Cancer rising and this is happening somewhere else, it could be because where you live, especially if you live really, really up north. And then you'll probably have to use equal house sites anyway. So ignore like how big the 12th and the 6th house is, which I'm surprised it is because we use New York. But this is happening in your 12th and your 6th house with Saturn in the 9th, around those subjects of philosophy, theology, other cultures. Also, on a personal level, we're talking about, higher education and travel as well. Nicole, do you want to give your astrological take on the 12th, 6th house?
It's like there could be some culmination of some type of affairs or something that you're kept hidden, or maybe you don't even know what's hidden. Yeah, and with the Saturn square, I feel just the boundaries around because the 12th house was spirituality too. And then so with the square from that in the 9th house of Jupiter ruling, that's your idea of spirituality, better learning.
Yeah. And also with this, you could have gifts that you're struggling to use and really trying to figure out how you pull away to do 12th house subjects, how you explain that to other people. This could feel like all of the power, all of the combustible energy is in just doing the things that are expected of you, going through your daily habits, kind of securing the bag in a very conventional way, and this actually could be a hard time communicating what you feel, what you know, having doubts about it, and also how do you explain that to other people? It might feel like there's too much power in what's, again, expected of you on an everyday basis. In a regular work job, just go get a regular job. That could feel a little soul crushing, a little spirit crushing. And the older philosophies, older constructs could feel like they're not really keeping you from exploring your gifts in that way or expressing but it feels like it. And letting that go could be really, that feels like you. Yeah. And how do you explain it? That could be something to let go for this full moon.
How do you see this reference to habits, bad habits, good habits, things you tried in?
Yeah, I mean, with the sun and Mars there, just because it's opposing that moon, I feel like that's a lot about pretending to be happy and go and getting everything done, and feeling like the bad habit is pretending that the minutia is serving you. You know, the sixth house is also about self-mastery. And so, but if your heart is someplace else, it could feel like you're kind of, you know, Sag is fun. They're going to dance on the table with you. They are a good time. They have a smile on their face. I think we could think about Taylor Swift in that way. That girl is so hardworking, right? And that Scorpio Mercury always lands. Those lyrics are fire all the time, right? And also don't piss her off because she's going to write a song about you. But Scorpio Mercury, right? But she's always got a smile on her face. It's very like, and she's always got somebody after her. She goes through, but she's got that smile on her face. Now that is somebody totally feeding their purpose. And she's doing more than that. She's become such an altruistic person. She gives back so much. And it seems like, you know.
Very true.
Yeah. So we're not talking about her specifically, but like that Sagittarius can put a smile on their face most of the time, even when things are rough. So if that big Sag energy with that sun and that Mars there also feels very, very busy in the regular stuff, they might feel like there's a whole part of them. So the moon is our subconscious. When the moon is in the 12th house, you can feel misunderstood. You can feel not heard. You can feel misinterpreted. And so
doubly.
Yes. And if you feel like you have to already think your feelings and communicate your feelings on a logical level instead of an emotional level, having it in the 12th house, because it's, you know, Gemini, and then having it in the 12th house and then feeling like, you know, big bad sky daddy is hanging out in the house of, where's your higher education? Where is, like, what are the facts? What is the philosophy to support this? Yep. This could be very much feeling misunderstood. And at what point do you stop trying to be understood? So that, like, at what point do you stop giving the power to being understood in reference to how you live your life?
Right.
Because there will be people that will always willfully misunderstand you, whether you're explaining yourself perfectly well or not. They're just not going to be on the same, you know, the same thought process as you. And Gemini moon often feels misunderstood. So if this Gemini moon is in your 12th house, Cancer risings, who are probably intuitive AF, right? Like, you could feel very extra misunderstood and extra like no one's listening to me and I know I'm right. Like, you know, waiting for a sign to come down. Right, to like prove your intuition. And not feeling like your feelings are really met with understanding. They might get met with a little bit of placation, like somebody's placating you. Oh, Sweet little Cancer rising. Yeah. Do you have anything to add to that before we look at Leo rising?
Oh, no.
Okay. And an extra shout out to Lee, who made me this awesome slideshow today. She spent hours making up rising charts, so we would have a chart to use the transits against. So thank you, Lee. The sun is almost on your... Oh, the Sag. You have Sag, Pluto, and Sag. Okay. Yeah. That's going to be for quite a few people, right? Because Pluto... So, very interesting. Okay, so we are looking at Leo rising, and that puts this in your 11th and 5th houses. I'm going to tell you, if this is going to go in any house, Mars in your 5th house, not always the worst thing. I mean, like, I don't know if I maybe like the Leo rising for this the most for this moon, which is weird. But yes, you could feel powerless to what's risky. You could also, Sag Sun and Mars, you could find yourself with your partner at an unconventional private kind of place, or not private, and wanting to make a quick, trip to the bathroom to make out or more, with 11th, 5th house. That is group settings. That is, fun. And it is the 5th house of, play. It's also the 5th house of risk. It's also, could it be fights with your kids? Sure. Could you feel like publicly you can't win, even though if you know you're right? Like if you commented something on your child's social media, you look like a jerk. Yeah, that could also come in that way. This is very interesting too with Saturn in the 8th. So that self-governing, self-actualization, the responsibility, the boundaries being in the 8th house, which also leads to my first interpretation that just lends to the first interpretation of like we're not having boundaries in that 8th house while we're out in public and being risky and frisky. But if it is around your children, I don't think this reads badly for romance, although you could feel like the other person has more power than you, like they're more of a prize than you are, and I don't love that for you. But if it is about kids, and your feelings looking very public and misunderstood or not communicated well, that Saturn in the 8th house, you could find yourself feeling uncomfortable expressing everything with your kids. Restricted.
Yeah.
Nicole, your take on this Leo rising 11th, 5th house?
Yeah. I mean, you could be focused on having a lot to do and completions around from, and with the square, it's wanting you to overcome the fear. I feel like I'm speaking up to certain friends, possibly, or community.
I mean, as far as the full moon part, that moon in Gemini in the 11th house is that's a place, it's technology, it's humanitarianism, right? It's groups, it's groups. That's a place where you could actually find, when you feel like in your regular life you're not always understood, that Gemini moon could feel more comfortable in a situation like this, in a community where you're kind of picking your peeps, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there could be lots of energy around creativity, and there could be lots of fighting around creativity and creative ideas.
Yes.
And you could feel also, you could be in a situation where you feel like You're fighting over creative ideas, maybe not understood on a public level, and then also like feeling restricted, other people's money, things that you need to fund this creative project.
Definitely. There's so many different things in every house.
The
You
fifth,
come up with so many scenarios.
yeah, and the fifth house. Hey, Karen. Hey, Jackie. The fifth house to
That's so lucky.
yeah, well, yes, but also, I don't know. I did a chart reading for somebody the other day.
That is
the fifth house. That was not. It was not a lucky thing. So, but most of the time, yeah, it could be where your luck. It's also where your luck could run out and you gamble, because fifth house is also gambling. The fifth house, there's a couple of houses that are so all over the place because fifth house is romance and it's sex, and it's also kids and creativity and games. So it's really one of those houses where the it's yeah, and not all, they're not all similar subjects either. Yeah. Okay. Anything else for you on that, Leo? Okay.
You know, I'm very simple, right? I think I'm very simple. Susie's great with her.
I'm overly verbose, as they say.
Yeah, but I like.
Okay, so now we are looking at the Virgo. If you are a Virgo rising, that's me. This is going to be in your 10th and 4th house. Nicole, I was reading Juan's comment. Nicole, please feel free to.
Career could come to a head. Could have had a lot of focus in the home, everyday, not everyday routines, but everyday things, an inner child, so your emotions that you don't want to flip. And then maybe wanting a partner to step in with the square from the 7th house to try to control the household, possibly.
Yeah, to me, this is one of the more frustrating, of course. To me, this is one of the more frustrating, where the last one for Leo rising, I feel like that's probably one of the more likely, more positively expressing. Of course, it could be, everything is what we make it. A full moon is time to let things go so things can be as positive as possible. The letting go part doesn't always feel good. This can be the David and Goliath thing happening between home and career. This could feel, feeling that you over communicate things in that public house of public reputation. It could feel like waiting for a partner, because that 7th house is contracts and committed relationships. So a partner in any kind of way to kind of come in and say, that's enough of that, exactly like you said. This could also feel like parental stuff. Having the Sun and Mars in the 4th house is very masculine energy in what we would consider a feminine polarity house. And then the moon in a masculine sign, but the moon being a feminine polarity in that 10th house. So, and the 10th house, technically, that ownership is Capricorn, which is still a feminine polarity. So we have a lot of this could be a lot of one, you finding your own way of what is balancing feminine and masculine behavior, because we don't want to use those old constructs anymore. We don't, I remember I had a reading with this incredibly smart, wonderful person, and she said that she had looked at like all the polarities in her chart and that it came up more feminine for her, but that she felt like she had a lot of good masculine qualities like decision making. And I was like, well, decision making isn't necessarily like, that doesn't belong to masculinity. That's, but that is like an old construct, right? So just reconstructing and deconstructing for us what that means, like where, and as humans, like, do we feel less attractive to partner? Do we feel like there's going to be a consequence for us stepping into an energy that's not expected of us? Do we feel like there's going to be consequences in partnership for taking more of a leading role, less of a leading role, wherever you're falling in that line? And feeling like whatever's going on in your fourth house, in your home, in your private life, you may feel like that's a little less hidden than you'd like it to be with that moon in the 10th house. You may feel like you are wearing your problems at home on your sleeve publicly. And that can also be a little tough. Nicole, anything to add on that?
I can definitely feel that moon is in the 10th. All of the, I don't get that choice. So I am emotional. I can't hide whatsoever.
Yeah.
This transit, I've been, on a daily basis. I totally agree with that.
Hi, Samantha. Hi, Dana. Samantha, take a picture and bring it to our Zoom party on the 26th. Okay, so, all right. So anything else to add to our Virgo rising? Okay. Libra rising. This moon is happening in your 9th house and 3rd house axis. Very interesting. I find this very interesting, but I'm going to let Nicole take it and then I will add my 2 cents.
This feels like you're really caught up with your day tasks and wanting to venture is but the focus is on the maybe travel or even community. But it feels like more well as well. And with the square from I don't know, you need to find the balance in the everyday daily routines, expectations. And are you giving too much?
Yeah. I find this really interesting because we have the moon in Sagittarius's kind of home turf. And we have Sagittarius in Gemini's home turf. So,
and that.
Yeah. And Saturn is in our, it must be the house sizes on this. Saturn should technically be falling, because it was in the 7th house the last time. So I'm not sure what's going on here, but anyway, that is weird. It must just be this Libra rising's chart. But anyhow, when we have these reverse roles, so the moon is in that house of philosophy. It is in that house of other people's cultures. It is in that house of higher education. There could be a longing for you to feel like you could feel like you're not where you should be. You could feel like in your immediate environment that does not, like your neighborhood, the people you grew up with, because third house is absolutely the people. You know, we talk about 11th house is like friendship and the internet, and third house is like your elementary school, the kids in your neighborhood, your siblings, your cousins, things like that. But we forget as we grow up, that's where those friends stay. So you could feel like the people that you've been friends with your whole life, you may have outgrown them. You may have outgrown them in philosophy. You may have grown out them in spirituality, theology. Your religious beliefs could have changed. You could have grown up like, you know, with one of the more traditional religions, and now you're very spiritual. There is a feeling of possibly feeling like there's more combustible energy, or the Goliath is, you know, go ahead.
No, I was agreeing. This is really interesting.
Yeah. You could be longing and feeling like you would feel more at home with your emotions and how you feel about everything, not just how you think about everything, but how you feel about everything. You would feel more at home someplace else. You absolutely could be contemplating, like, do I want to go live in Costa Rica for a year? Do I want to go, like, do I want to move? Do I want to, and I know this is not like a fourth house transit, but you may feel like feeling like you got dropped off in the wrong place in the wrong neighborhood, like and that you'll always feel like the misfit toy, that you'll always feel like the odd man out. You may let go of having that be part of your identity and part of your your relationship with yourself, and actually make a move to, whether it's in an online situation like this, or take yourself away. It just may feel you may feel small in that environment that you were geographically dropped in, you know?
Yeah, like you're somewhere else.
Yeah. Because don't forget, like, you know, we've lived other lives, and it's unlikely that we've lived them all in the same exact geographical. It's not the book Centennial, where, you know, we go over one piece of land and see how the people change on it. It's our soul has probably lived in different places, and so this could feel like a calling. You know, you may be staying because your kids live here. There are times that I think I would go to Italy in a hot minute. I would just go drop everything, Italy, Costa Rica, but I have a grown son and his girlfriend, who feels like my bonus child at this point, 10 years later, that I would be very leery to be thousands and thousands of miles away from. So there could feel like a restriction either around your kids, whether you're doing that, or there could just, you could feel like there's going to be a consequence because it feels too risky to go outside. You might have been taught to stay within your comfort zone. You may have been taught to, you know, this is the only way to think, that you cannot leave Catholicism, that you cannot not be best friends with your siblings. You can't think differently, that there's, you know, some parents want everyone to get along even when they're adults, and we get to grow and be different people. There's something here where you could feel that you're going to risk something in order to feel emotionally understood in a different environment, with a larger environment, with a culture, and with a possible geographical place that was not the one you were dropped off in. Nicole?
Absolutely. No, yeah, I completely agree. I have nothing to that.
Okay. We are on Scorpio risings. Now, I know that we are lousy with Scorpio risings in this community. Raise your hand if you have a Scorpio rising. And I love you. I love all kinds of Scorpio placements.
Same.
Has anyone been keeping, Lee, have you been keeping timestamps on when we change rising signs? I didn't ask, but I didn't. If we could start from here, that would be great. This way we just have to gather the other ones. I know we have at least 3 in here that are Scorpio rising. Not you. Yes, you. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3. I know we have quite a few because when I did the live chart eclipse readings, it was like I said, if we had played a drinking game, where everybody had to take a drink when a Scorpio rising asked for their chart to be read, then everybody would have been on their way to the hospital. Yeah, they would have been on their way to a hospital. Alcohol poisoning, because there was a lot of Scorpio risings. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Hi, Bella. All right. So here we go. Scorpio rising. This is happening in your second. Right? Yeah. 2nd and 8th.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, Nicole. I'll chime in after you.
I feel like there might be a payout you need to make. And with this being that so on financial aspect, it could stir up some insecurity around you or around your security and stuff. And then with where right there, possibly, wanting a child to step up and pay for their own things, for example. I'm just thinking of specific examples, but
yeah.
It feels like a lot of favors being brought up too. Like you don't want to speak up and say something. Like, being in the hook there,
So with this 2nd, 8th house access, obviously this is our money access, right? So like, I don't want my Scorpio risings to freak out and go, oh my God, there's a full moon in my 8th house of other people's money. Am I going to end up having a debt? Am I going to end up like, what's the full moon? The full moon could be that like if you have student loans, if you have children with student loans, if there's some kind of something that you think that you owe, I would take the next 10 days and be very diligent and put a lot of action and combustible action, like a lot of action, in towards figuring out what can you put an end to in your house of debts. Can you write a letter? Do you qualify? There was like was it Experian, one of those had a info leak, so that if you have, I actually qualified for that. So like, and that's still in motion, but like there, can you write a letter that's going to get a debt gone? Do you qualify for that new loan forgiveness thing for the student loans? There's something in here. I think they say the average American has between $9,000 and $13,000 in debt, right? That's the average American. So there could be something here where if you put a lot of energy, also just into your self-worth and your resources, that's awesome. You could put an end to thought process about yourself, your own inner psychological dance. But I want to make sure that all of my Scorpio rising, since there's a poop ton of you in here, that look for where you feel like you owe money or like you can't get ahead. And I would put a lot of energy and action into, and hopeful action. It's Sag. It's ruled by Jupiter. Hopeful action, and see what you can't close off in what you feel like you owe. And that obviously, this could be emotionally what you feel like you owe to other people. It's the 8th house. It's death. It's debts. It's psychological. It's the unseen. Where are you spending a lot of time that's under the surface? Where are you spending a lot of times with your emotions that you feel embarrassed, that feel like There would be anger towards you if people know how you really felt about something, or how are you emotionally tied to something that feels taboo. And how is that affecting your self-worth? Because with this, if the debt thing doesn't apply, then we're looking at that Mars Sun self-worth, like what Jupiterian toxic positivity ideals do you feel like are fighting you to be comfortable within your own skin about I don't want to get crazy deep here, but I'm just going to say this through a neuroscience lens and through a just trauma informed lens. If you have connections to things that are taboo and they are at all tied to things that happened to you when you were a child that you didn't ask for those things to happen, you have to find a safe place so that you do not punish yourself, so that you do not self-medicate, so that you do not shame yourself into dis-ease around anything, especially dis-ease around your own existence. So this could be about money, and it can go much, much deeper. Finding a safe place. Huh?
Afraid to express that too.
Right.
Gemini.
Right. Feeling like there's some kind of retaliation and consequence, especially with family. This could be about coming out about the abuse. This could be about coming out about many things. And you feel like you're going to face a fight, that there may be traditional thinking at home that would make you feel further isolated. But my bet would be that you already feel isolated. That you already feel isolated and the need to hide.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's helping you. So anything else to add to that, Nicole?
No.
Okay. And then we are looking at Sagittarius rising. My big laughs. People with the big laugh. How are my Sag risings? Okay. This is happening. This is an interesting place to have it, because if you have the lower degree Sag rising, or for that matter, late degree Scorpio rising, this is happening on your angles. This is happening around your ascendant and your major angles, right? So, and if you are Sag rising, those angles are mutable, most of them, depending if you have uneven houses and somehow your 4th and 10th are not immutable, which happens. That's hitting a nail. Okay. Okay. All right. I love you all, my Scorpio risings. Okay. All right. So you don't think they're ready for that, but like, when do you get to be ready to just fully be you without feeling like there's anxiety because you feel like you have to shove down part of your lived experience, right? So again, if you are very late degree Scorpio rising, or if you are very early degree Sag rising, very importantly, I'm going to talk about Sag rising, and Nicole's going to talk about Sag rising and where this is happening in that 7th first house, obviously opposite of Gemini, but also this is happening on your angles. So we have, and ignore this chart because this is just a chart for like today and tomorrow. We just use those as dummy dates so that we had the correct rising signs to do the transits with. So don't anybody worry about like double Mars Sun here. If you're born yesterday, literally, you're not watching this. I'm going to let Nicole go first. So this is the moon in the 7th house with that opposition in the 1st.
Well, let's feel the focus was on you. And possibly your partner not being her. Your connections, there could be people in your life, your partner contract could feel small. Or maybe they don't. Or maybe you feel they don't hear you. where is this? Yeah, and this feels like possibly you want, or you're looking for emotional support, something like that from the home, domestic stuff, maybe mother, and you're not getting it.
I feel like, one, if you're a Sag rising, you could be experiencing a little inflammation in your body right now, for sure.
That being
Sag rising, you're having inflammation, whether that's self-imposed inflammation from like unhealthy habits, or whether that's just inflammation for other reasons. Part of that reason could feel being a little stressed out inside of that house of commitments and partnerships and contracts. This could be the end of wrapping up. That inflammation in that first house could be because you are finally wrapping up something that you've been dealing with for court. Yeah. With the sun, with the moon in the 7th house, you may have been excusing things that are happening between you and partner, or you and a committed, whatever the contract is, right? Whatever, because that's where we find legal things and open enemies. You may have been thinking your feelings and making excuses for somebody. You may have not wanted to look weak or really truly emote. Something may happen where you feel like there's so much energy going on within that body of yours that if you let it out, you'll explode. That's one. You could be afraid of communicating this in an emotional way, and you could just feel like you've been well behaved and not communicating in an emotional way. Restricted, because that Saturn in that 3rd house would make you feel probably restricted in communications. So if you're experiencing, again, some of that inflammation could be from self-imposed bad habits, but those self-imposed bad habits are also usually coming from someplace where you're not expressing. Better out than in.
All right.
Better out than in. I feel like you're trying to be more palatable. You could be trying to be more palatable by being very logical, because you don't want to be accused of being over emotional or overly needy, is another thing that seems to be coming up with this astrological transit. And so it's time to really feel your feelings in that 7th house. Again, a truth could come out that might make you explode everything that you have been shoving down. That's how I'm seeing that. And better that than your blood pressure go through the roof. Better that than like you feel like you're not feeling well, or you're inflamed, or you're, because you're emotionally just swallowing everything. Anything to add to that, Nicole?
No.
Okay.
Saturn's in, but
Saturn was in the 3rd, yeah.
in the 4th. Shouldn't it be square now?
So we are on Capricorn rising.
Now we're moving. Or are we on?
We're doing Sun in the 1st and Moon in the 7th. Now we're in Sun in this 6th. I don't know what's going on with this house. Everything keeps skipping the 6th house. But this really is Sun. This is Moon in the 6th. And these houses are weird. So this is Moon in the 6th, Capricorn rising, Moon in the 6th, and Sun and Mars in the 12th, with that Saturn showing up in the 2nd house. So how do you see this with the moon in the 6th?
Possibly feelings being illuminated, or coming to a I feel like something that's hidden or that you've been trying not to express possibly could be coming to a completion or frustration in your daily life that maybe you haven't been able to express because of self-worth or self-esteem. There's just a lot hidden in that 12th house.
Yeah.
And it feels like it needs to come out through the other house.
Yeah. So this could be a very frustrating, like you feel like you're doing everything you can at your job, in your daily routine. You could feel like money is restricted. You could feel like your resources and your value feels tied sometimes to the resources we're able to produce for ourselves and for our loved ones, the people we're responsible for. That sixth house, that moon is in that sixth house of, of course, everyday duties. Yes, we can also find like pets and health and all of that. With the moon in the sixth house, also, I'm going to tell you to not ignore things that come up for you, like in your health. The Gemini moon is really good at sometimes ignoring its own needs. And it again, just like I spoke about as far as Gemini moon in general, they can feel like being emotional about their needs won't be heard or met or isn't as important anyway. So that Gemini moon may kind of ignore, I don't want to bother anybody with my health problems. So please don't do that, because you have inflammation in the 12th. When we have that kind of like Mars and Sun in the 12th, this is also our house of mental and emotional health. It's also a hidden house. You wouldn't want to be hiding your any kind of mental or emotional, like we are in a place, thank God, in society where we are normalizing, right? When people have depression and whatnot. Now the Sun and the Mars would normally be like the antithesis of depression energy, right? Especially in Sag. This could feel very much, again, an inflamed sense of emotional well-being or mental well-being. Within that 12th house, this also gives me vibes of faking it. And I don't want you to ignore anything that starts to look like it has to do with your health. This also is the house of self-mastery. Again, with the moon, hi Carlene, with the moon in that sixth house of self-mastery, you could feel like it's time to put an end to doing the daily grind, not feeling valued by anyone else, not feeling your own self-value, still feeling under. This is the chart of somebody who's overwhelmed and under-resourced. This full moon, the Saturn, not the chart itself, but like this full moon yells overwhelmed and under-resourced. So what are you going to do to put an end to living that way and letting it take a toll on you? Hidden rage that you keep within your mental and emotional body, not so great. The good news is that you also could have, Sag, all the signs can be psychic. Sag can be very clairvoyant. With that moon Mars, you could get a visit or something physical happening in your home as a visit of somebody spiritually. Anything to add to that, Nicole?
I don't feel like some possible emotional output. Maybe, or how you communicate. Because I know this square is in the second, but it's supposed to be in the third in this chart. So,
well, no, right? 12/6, it would be in the second squaring. Because 12, yeah, right? Because 12/6, yeah.
12/6. That would be so.
No, you're right. Yeah, I don't know what happened. We'll have to like redo these rising signs because
That's okay.
when the first one we did, when it was the Aries rising, the houses were all nice and even, and somewhere along the line the houses got really, so we're just gonna have to redo these.
But yeah, really.
Okay. And it depends on the size of your house and where you're born, whether it's gonna fall. Yeah. So here we go. This is Moon in the 4th. And the I don't know if all of these are right, Emily. They're just skipping.
It's okay.
All right, so but this would be
4th and 10th.
This would be the 5th and 11th is what we're supposed to be doing at this point.
Oh yeah, because we did 12 and
yeah.
So 5th and 11th.
That's weird how it's just completely skipping houses. Okay. All right, so we're gonna go back to this. So 5th and 11th. This is for our Aquarius risings. Aquarius risings, wherever you're at. We just did Capricorn. We're on Aquarius rising. Okay. So 5th house moon. It's funny, I'm hearing a song.
Oh, are you?
You go ahead, Nicole.
The 5th house moon. I don't know. It feels like there could be something around children, or I feel like your higher goals might be the focus too, but your children or creative projects, there feels like a closure around there, something that needs to be expressed. But you're trying to go after, your higher goals, achievements, your hopes, dreams. But you could have, there's this where maybe financial obligations, self-worth to children, creative projects, hobbies. And maybe your boundaries or the way that your children are.
The 5th, 11th is a really interesting place to have a full moon. That moon and the 5th.
I mean, that's not bad either. Just the way that I expressed it, I'm sure it sounded that way.
No. Having two completely varying astrological points of view, which, every transit, every placement, every transit we see in a client's chart, they can express in more than one ways. There's so many layers to this, so we can both see different expressions and they can turn out to be right for different people. Just the same way people get 2 different card readings and they're different, but at the end of the day, they'll circle back and have the same point, because we're going through the guides or we're going through astrological lens can be varying. So it's good to have the different points of view. So that the moon in the 5th house, what a full moon in that full house, that full moon in that 5th house, what are we looking to put closure to? Where do we feel kind of David and Goliath? Now, when it was the opposite, I said, you may feel like publicly you can do no right if there is an argument with children. This could be like you are fighting for your kids. You could feel like there is, you may have to make a decision as a parent to take away internet access. Internet access may not be safe right now. That could not go over well. That might not go over well. You could have, you could literally get an intuition that one of their friends is not really their friends, that you have the need to feel protective over them. And while you might not be emoting it a certain way, it might look like it's just a cold communication of this access is getting taken away from you right now. But you may need to put into the world is a little bit of a scary place. So like you may have to have communications with your kids about things that you didn't plan on having. You may have to have conversations with them, and honestly, it may help to have that Gemini moon vibe where we're going to think our feelings and not feel our feelings. You may have to sit down and have a hard conversation with somebody, your children, other people, about things going on right now that are so much for public consumption all over the internet, and about humanitarian subjects. This is when the fifth house will not feel. The fifth house is supposed to be the house of joy. This is when it might not feel joyful, but you might really lean into the ability to, out of love for somebody else, the moon is always protective, out of love for somebody else, that you could lean into those incredible words that if a Gemini moon has ever written you a poem, or if you've ever read anything that they've written, it's usually incredible. You could usually take a spoon to their intellect and their ability to put their feelings into words. If they could just put their words into feelings, that would be great. But putting their feelings into words, there's no better. And so leaning into that ability with this energy of this moon in here could be a good time to have a conversation. And also you might have to cut off there might be so much, and while young brains are developing, and not in censorship or anything else, because but you might want to be the one to personally have those conversations with them and not take in all the varying theologies and philosophies that are found on the internet.
Yeah.
Nicole, anything to add to that?
No.
And also, if this is about romance for you in a full moon, I hate to say this, sorry. The other way, I liked it a lot, but this way, not so much. If, truth be out in a full moon, you could be in a romance with somebody and find out on the internet the hard way that they did not realize they were in so much as a committed relationship as you did, because Sagittarius is like, I love everybody, right? So that Sag moon, I'm not saying that's how all Sages are. Do not come for me. That is not what I said. What I said is Sag Mars and Sag Sun energy, not as individual people who have those placements. In the 11th house you could either mistake what you see on the internet as they are love the one you're with instead of love the only person you're supposed to love, or that could be something that comes to light. And if that is, you probably already kind of know on some level. I'm just saying. And speaking of which, I keep covering it, but those are the QR codes. They're actually both going to go to Nicole's link tree because I was doing a lot of things at once today. Gemini brain. But that is Nicole's link tree. If you take your phone and just put it up against the screen, or you grab somebody else's phone if you're watching on your phone, that is the QR code will take you right to her little link tree. And if Lee doesn't mind, if she could... if Lee could put up my website. So if you're looking to have readings about any of these things, we are both available. Nicole is a wonderful medium and a pet communicator as well.
Thank you.
No worries, Gibson. I hope you feel better. Hi, Nikki. Good night, Gibson. You feel better, honey.
I I can't see the chat because I'm watching the. So sorry.
If you're new in this community, we really have like an actual true community. You will see me say hello to everybody. You will see everybody say hello to each other. Hi, Carlene. We tend to be in touch with what the other is going through. There's tons of support here as well. So if you're new here, I encourage you to come by. If not for me, this community is the best. I always say it's the community. It's not my community. It's the community that love built.
I know.
Yeah. Nicole actually kind of came out of this community. So
Literally.
yeah. So, okay. So we are about to wrap up. That was Aquarius rising. And now so we should be moon in the third house. So we're back on track. Pisces riding moon in the third house. Right? Because we just did.
No, we did 5th and 11th.
What is going on here? I know these are actual Pisces, but I don't know what's going on. But again, my phone still says that it's 9:41
on January.
So you people don't think I'm crazy. It says it's 9:41 when it's actually 6:56, but it said that it's 9:51 since it's 4:45. And yeah. Yep. So we're having some technical difficulties here. All right, so I am just going to take this off for a second. So we're going to do Pisces rising, which should be moon in the 4th. And sun in the 10th. And then of course Saturn in the 1st. This again is kind of happening on angles. It's happening on your MC and your IC and that Saturn on your ascendant. Listen, again, this is very David. Bye, Katie. And I hope everybody, just really quick, because I promised I would not like constantly talk about membership in big public spaces. But I hope everybody looked in their email. You all got your invites to the second Zoom party for membership for Astros that didn't go to the first one, and all of the nerds. Most of the Astros were not in the first one, so most of the Astros will be in on the 26th. Okay, just make sure you guys look in your email. Okay, so Pisces, and we're doing, this is the moon in the 4th and the sun and Mars in the 10th with that Saturn on the 1st, all on your angles. I think this is the most David Goliath of all of the houses. What do you think, Nicole?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what is your take on that 4th house moon?
Well, it's there could be. I feel that like a lot of inner child too. Inner child, yeah, intuition.
Yeah. It whatever it's going to be. The moon is insular. It is subconscious. We have the Gemini moon that would rather think its feelings than feel its feelings, that kind of vibe. And then we have it in that 4th house, which is our most private house. It's where we go for the retreat. The 8th house is where we are, things are under the surface. The 12th house is where it's hidden from, it feels like, everyone, including us. But that 4th house is where we go to retreat. It is where we're purposely, we get quiet, as they say, as somebody in my life used to say, get quiet, but not in a bad way. That just meant getting in comfies and sweats and staying home and just, watching a movie. It was the get quiet. And that's where we do those 4th house things. It's where we kind of get quiet, and we get quiet within ourselves. This is such, oh my God, people. With the Pisces rising, you're already a freaking Pisces rising. And that moon in that 4th house, please put aside some time during this full moon to this is a good time to meditate. This is a good time to get in touch with your guides. This is a good time, like this, have a conversation between yourself and your guides. This is get quiet and listen to yourself. There's going to feel like a lot of noise going on from public spaces. Reputation, you might even feel like you're fighting for your reputation in some ways. Again, you could feel misunderstood, but this is a time to turn off all the other noise and go within. The consequences are going to have to come from you. You're going to have to put down the boundaries to shut off that noise, and you're going to find out what that system's going to be and what's going to be best for you by getting quiet with yourself. How do you feel about that, Nicole?
Yeah, because in the first, then your public house, so they're home. It could be working too much, not reprieving enough. But you're the only one that can change that, I feel.
Yeah. That's such a good point.
And you're there. It feels like a pull too between which one.
Work-life balance.
The place, yeah.
That's
You want to please everybody. Yeah.
And you could feel like you're very much being watched, which could make the need for that sanctuary of that moon in the fourth house.
Even more.
Yeah. Because like Nicole said, you could feel like you're so busy, like you can't. I remember I want to say it was Mars. It was the last retrograde of Mars in Gemini. And there was it was Mars while it was direct on my Mercury at conjunct my MC, and I believe it's on my Instagram. There is a picture of me. There's not a picture of me in the tub. There's a picture of me very clearly taking a picture from me being in the tub. I had like a meal in a tinfoil, like a to-go thing, and my computer up, because the only way that I was going to bathe at that time, I was so insanely busy and I could not find time for sanctuary. The closest I was going to get work-life balance was trying to be in the tub while I was eating and doing work, because that's how crazy it was. And so when you have that combustible fire sign, Sun, Mars, in that 10th house, and it can feel like everybody's watching you, and what if you drop the ball?
That's literally what it's. Yeah.
It's a really great time to decide what the boundaries are, because that is not sustainable. And I did burn out. And I had people go like, you're going to burn out. I'm like, I love it. Because at the time my Mercury was being fed and I was like, I love it. Yeah, I burnt out. Sure. So this is a good time to figure out what you have to give up so you do not burn out. Pisces rising, especially Pisces rising. Y'all get exhausted when you go to the mall because you can feel everybody's energy. It's the most drainable sign. Like, I always give so much credit to like teachers and people who work in those big public places that are also Pisces rising. But I bet you when you go to their house, there's some corner of their home that's an absolute sanctuary, because that's the only way they're going to re-energize to enter back into the lion's den of everyone's energy. Yeah. Other rooms might be a little messy in the Pisces rising house because they don't have time. Their energy is all sucked from their 9 to 5. And then they're hard on themselves. So I'm telling you. Yeah, Go ahead.
No, trying to please everybody.
Yeah, but their home is the place where they don't have to please everyone. Yep. So there's usually, it's not like gross messy, but there might be like a little clutter because they really need to retreat and re-energize. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's try the thing again. Let's see if we can get it to be right now okay. So we're just going to pop off that part. Okay, so we are on Aries rising. Don't look at the chart. We're on Aries rising. It's moon in the 3rd house. And moon, sun and Mars in the 9th. So everything's kind of in its, when we, whenever we're doing an Aries rising, it's a no duh. All of the energies are going to fall in their home turfs.
Right.
So what is your take on this, Nicole?
So that's back to these home signs of the David and the higher mind, the lower mind. Let me see if communication. Why don't you go first on this?
So this is a great time for the part of you that feels insular, the part of your subconscious, the part that you've been shoving down, the part that you've been trying to like say properly, not be too, like, you don't want to be seen as weak or needy or any of that. This is, write all of that down. Write it down. Write it down, whether you're giving it to burn or flush at the full moon. But even like if you have to write letters to people and they don't quite get them, write it down. You could, again, also very David and Goliath. You could feel like you feel how you feel. You know, and if this is you, Aries rising, there could have been a little bit of a limitation around how you were raised, as far as like the area. Small, this also could lightly apply to somebody who like stayed in their hometown and doesn't study all other. I know people also that like, live in their same hometown, but they're a brilliant mind and they go outside to like find other sources of life and culture. But this could feel like feeling pressured to think differently than you do. This could feel like you feel like you're not expressing yourself well too. This could very simply feel like you get into an argument with somebody who has so much more information than you. And even though that like your thoughts are valid, when you are talking to them, you feel like your words are buried under their big ideas or their big information. They may even not have the right information, but they sell it so strongly. They are not wanting to miss the mark. Their beliefs are everything. They are staunch zealot. And you could feel like there is no winning an argument verbally. Write everything down. Write letters, whether you send them or not. This feels like being articulate on paper is far easier than being articulate in the moment, in the heat of a moment, to me. And I don't know that you're gonna be able to convince them different. I don't know if this is, but having the validation of being able to express yourself and be heard, because I don't know that you feel heard in an actual conversation with this person.
Right, but this that could very well be aware of your too around this communication.
Yeah.
To those higher ideals, what this is.
Yeah, and again, we have boundaries in a boundaryless sign in the boundaryless house. I'm saying boundaryless. That's not even a real word. Boundary free. So we have the sign of boundaries. We have the planet of boundaries in a sign that's about boundaries, and a house that doesn't love boundaries either. Make sure that, again, better out than in. Make sure that you're expressing that on paper if you don't feel like you can express or win verbally, and that you're not shoving this down. And it astrologically too, this, I would say that this is definitely for Aries rising. You may want to be careful about any overindulgences that you feel like other people don't need to know about, anything that you do in private, because boundaries are kind of really out the door right now. Nicole?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And one more, and then I think we're going to take questions. And I think we're both willing to take like yes or no card pull questions too. Am I right? Yes. And you'll be able, if you're here to like talk to Nicole specifically, you'll be able to ask her questions. And I will accept super chats, and she will get them if you want to super chat her as well. Just if you do super chat, just specify your question and who you want that to go to. And with that, let's finish up. Lee, if you're still in the chat, can you hop on downstairs for a second for me? Okay. So this is the last one. This should be Moon in the second house. And yes. And Sun and Mars in the 8th with that Saturn in the 11th. So what is your take?
I like or thereof. I feel like there could be some letting go of a possible belief system of how you feel about your self-worth.
Absolutely.
And, it could be to do with money too, around finances.
Your spending. I would say the spending. Mars in the 8th house can feel like money is burning a hole in your pocket. So this could be an end to the way you're spending. Rebudgeting. Listen, no one expected to spend this much on groceries. Saying that we all have to look at how we spend because the budget's not that we have to reallocate funds, right? Because things are costing a ridiculous amount compared to what they were 6 months ago, a year ago, certainly 2-3 years ago, right? So you're like, Susie, that doesn't make you clairvoyant or an astrologer. That just makes you somebody who's living in the world, right? But in this case, it may be more than just reallocating your daily budget. Look at your spending and also look at if you are trying to spend your worth. If you are not feeling good about yourself for some reason, and so instead you're buying something to make yourself feel good, you are
intimacy,
right? Like when self-care becomes, burning a hole in your pocket. When self-care becomes, if you buy that shirt, you're going to feel better. If everything else is, if the sink is, the ship is sinking and, you want to buy the 3-piece band to play music while it's sinking, like look at your spending habits. Look at, again, that Jupiterian, like it's all going to be fine. It's all going to be fine. It's special.
Hoping and wishing that boundary, that square from Saturn.
Right. And that's there. Internet. I mean, the boundary without boundaries is on the internet. So this also could be online shopping, which nowadays is
really obvious.
A lot of it. Also, that 8th house, definitely be careful about the fights you get into. Be careful about fighting with people that aren't stable, and fighting with people that you could win an argument with because it'll make you feel better. Yeah. Maybe somebody a little bit more vulnerable that is easy to, because you're feeling crappy. Be careful what you say to somebody else, I would say, especially on the internet. Like maybe type out the comment and then think about sending, whether you send or not. Because maybe you're 1,000% right, but maybe that person is just in a low place. And so maybe that's not where we need to
outsource.
Yeah. For sure. Anything else with that? I mean, and obviously full moon in the second house. And the energy in the 8th house. There could be something that leaves that brings in more money, and how you make money may need to change. so that it's more balanced. Yeah.
Great.
Anything else with this house here? Okay.
No.
All right. So we're going to... Nicole, you got your cards. We're going to take questions, guys. There we go.
Yeah. Mute.
We're going to take questions. If anybody wants to super chat Nicole and ask a question, also her QR code is right there, so you can use your phone. Where we go. Now we're even Steven. There we go. You are welcome to do that. Does anyone have questions? Nicole is a very gifted medium. And so just to be clear, we're not doing full chart readings. And also after being on the internet for quite a bit, Nicole's happy to take questions about love, questions for tarot, but we're not tapping in on this big collective. We're not going to tap in and do mediumship readings right now. You can book a mediumship reading with her. And again, you can follow the QR code to her website. I'm like dying of thirst. I don't know if that's, it still says it's Tuesday, January 9th at 9:41, like hours later. So crazy. Absolutely crazy.
I don't know if reset that.
Nicole, why don't you pull a card? I'm going to start this. Pull a card and tell me what that means. What's going on at January 9th?
All right.
At 9:41.
We got the Knight of Wands here. You know how I feel about the Knight of... Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Stay home.
No, we got the King of Coins. So.
All right. As long as he matures into the King of Wands, I'll entertain it.
Guess what's on the bottom of the deck? King
Oh
of
my
Wands.
God. All right. Now I feel called out. All right, next. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know that fire sign energy that belongs to. Okay. We have Shauna. Shauna, is that for? Sure. Let's give that to Nicole. Oh, I'm sorry that's happening, honey buns.
Will you get through Shauna's question? I'm already getting you're manifesting your strength, but there's something around like heartache.
Are you saying heartache? You're breaking up just a little bit.
Yeah, there's something around heartache, but I'm already feeling like she's manifesting it. Yeah, so I feel like you need to retreat inward because you're feeling very conflicted. And like, I feel like you want to take action towards something. And I feel like you want to take quick action, but it possibly feels like it might take longer.
I feel like you're doing the work, but there's other opinions. You don't mind if we like double team you, do we, Shauna?
Yeah, you're trying to do the fair and right thing, but you're feeling opposed. You're feeling restricted. but I feel like it's all mental.
Shauna, are you doing the work while other people are having like lots of opinions?
You're really conflicted as and yeah, she is doing all the work.
I feel like though she can't even do all the work to the extent that she would like to. Like she can't make as many decisions as she would like to about his care because other people are having big opinions. And even though she's stepping in, they're still being resentful.
There's a lot of chatter, and I feel like it's putting you up in your head. It's putting you in a mental place that you're having to persevere for too much. And I feel like you're not putting enough focus on yourself, too. Does that make sense?
Shauna, is he going to need an occupational therapist? We're like ramming you with questions. Sorry.
Sorry.
You don't say sorry. I jumped in. I got something very interesting for this, but it almost feels like inappropriate. I think there's a big delay.
You need to have blind faith in this healing, is what I feel too. Because you're invested a lot. There's a lot of time invested into this. But it feels like there's a decision. What are you getting?
I have something unexpected is going to happen out of this, and I just really want to know. Yeah, she's saying if we can see her super chat. So there must be a big delay, or, oh, she might be Shauna the second. Can somebody type that in the... Yeah, you know when like you jump, like if you leave and you come back in, I think you're behind. I think you have to move the little red guy, the little red ball all the way. All the way to the right. I think she must be behind quite a bit.
Trying to move the red ball to the right. I like it.
The funny thing is she won't hear us talking, but the chat still comes whatever time continuum she's on. It'll still. Okay. So Nicole asked Shauna what you wanted to ask again. So now she's...
Oh, geez, I forgot.
You were saying that she feels really conflicted. No. It's right. Stay where you are. Shauna, don't move. Don't move. We're going to just re-ask you stuff.
Oh, I feel like she feels like she needs to, I don't know if somebody's lying to her or she wants to say something and like move forward, but it feels like it's going too slow and she's trying to just do the right thing.
Yeah, I have
but it's imposing her.
Yeah, I think we're both kind of getting the same thing. I'm getting it just very bluntly that there's like other opinions. You're doing all the work, but other people having other opinions and you don't even have... I know that you're going to do like Reiki and other healing over him, but I feel like even in his 3D care, you feel like your hands are tied a little bit. So like But there's something else too that I was getting.
It feels like people are causing her up and up too.
Yeah. Does any of that make sense? She's getting her words together. And I'm sure you're being too nice. Whoever all the other personalities that I'm feeling, you're being like the nicest.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She's not, I feel like she
Can Nicole say that one more time? She says she feels like that there's other people involved in this, and that you feel like, was the word hesitancy? You feel conflicted. That was it. That you feel conflicted. That's what she was saying.
And she's just trying to do the right thing, but she's not speaking up. And it feels like she's doing all the work and putting in all the time.
Yeah, I feel like you're doing all the work and somebody else is having a lot of opinions. And you're scrambling to try to make everybody happy but do the right thing. Yeah. There's also, I want to know if there's been talk about eventually having an occupational therapist come. If an occupational or physical therapist would be involved in this at some point. Like to wherever he's living.
She's trying to balance too much. And you're going to drain yourself.
I see. So I'm so sorry. I see you getting it through, but there's like a bonus present for you at the end of all this. I want to like show only Nicole the cards that I got, but that's impossible. Yeah, okay. She says, yes, I do. I feel like I should do this. Always a lot of opinions. He will have to have that, and you'll be the one taking them back and forth. Okay, there's a bonus gift in that for you.
Yeah.
Should I just flash them? You know that deck. Did we both get it for her? Holy shit.
10 of Pentacles?
Yup. You might be taking a prize home from the rehabilitation center, and it won't be your ex-husband. Somehow, through all of this journey, I feel like you're going to meet somebody that is going to have that. I also have the Two of Cups. So, stop. Yes, you do deserve a bonus.
Yeah, of course she does. Because, what's the other one? 4 of Wands.
You got the 4 of Wands and I got the 2. Are you... Right? And did you feel like this is inappropriate? Why are we getting this? That's why I said this is...
I'm just pulling cards.
But we both got 10 of Pentacles, and I'm like, I'm going to flash. And then Nicole flashed. And then we're like, wait, did we both get the same card? Because neither of us said that. This is very interesting if we both pull cards. This is what I'm talking about. How, like, astrology can, like... you know, express in many different ways, but a lot of times, even if the cards are different, like at the end of the message, your guides are both giving us, I mean, come on, 78 cards. We both get, I only pulled 2. Yeah, this is leading to a happy home, but I also got, yeah, no, don't give in to, your 8th house stuff is the fear. Your 8th house stuff is the fear, my love. Yeah. I would say let the fear go, because whatever's waiting at the end of this journey, you get a very nice signing bonus.
Yeah.
And I see somebody who's like, I see one of those dudes with the bracelets. That's all I'm going to say. Somebody a little bit more open-minded that would think that it's cool as shit, that you can think and feel and see the way that you do. Some of those occupational, listen, my mom had some occupational therapists coming into the house. Not so shabby. Yeah, you're going to get through it. You have the strength. You just have to come out of the fear, babe. Your 8th house stuff is the fear. It's not the actual, yeah.
Shauna knows what the Ten of Pentacles means.
Yes, she does. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Juan would like us to pull a card. I'm going to send these proceeds to Nicole.
No, we can split.
Shut up. Don't tell me what to do.
Fine. All right. Let me see. What do I want?
All right. Should we
Does he have a question?
Should we do this? He just wants us to pull a card. I'm going to pull one tarot and one oracle, and then I will let you go first.
Right.
You're getting all kinds of bonuses. First, Nicole and I double teamed you, Shauna, and now you're getting to take home like a occupational or a physical therapist.
That sounds like a lot.
It's Friday night. Do you know where your kids are? Hopefully they're not listening to this. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you for the generous super chat.
Thank you.
Okay. That was interesting.
The Hermit came out for both Juan and Shauna for me.
I'm trying to decide. Oh, I want this. Ironically, this is a deck that Shauna sent me. Probably for no good reason, because she's so nice.
Juan, do you need a retreat or are you taking one? Because I feel like you carry a lot of burdens, or you need to retreat because...
That's funny. She has no idea about our last session, Juan.
I don't know if you're getting over something, but it feels like a cycle is completing and there's some healing here. Like a lot of healing. I need a break. You think?
He's the norm of our virtual cheers. Juan! I have glasses here someplace. Okay. Okay. That's interesting. So I'm not going to, because I don't divulge what happens in private settings. But there was something about being someplace that makes it feel like you're a retreat all the time. In his last reading. Okay. What I got for you is the Six of Scoops, which in this deck is the Six of Pentacles. So, I thought the scoops was going to be cups, but it's not. The spokes are cups and the scoops are pentacles. So the Six of Pentacles is reciprocity. It's actually getting what you give. And especially because this one is even. Sometimes the Six of Pentacles looks like somebody's in the begging position and somebody's in the giving position. So it feels more like charity, but this doesn't. This feels like reciprocity. Looks like reciprocity. And who doesn't like ice cream? What's interesting is that we have lots of layers, different flavors. Scoops by the flavors, all different layers. All right, listen. I think the ending, what Nicole got, it has to do with you being the giver, you being it's the supplier is what I keep hearing. You're the supplier of something, and it's just like take. So you're going to be in a situation where you can actually glean something for yourself. It feels good. This is what I'm hearing. It feels good to be the big fish in a little pond, but after a while, it's also really effing boring to be the big fish in a little pond, because you would like to be someplace too where there's other fish that you could learn from. It feels like top banana. You've gotten it now, but like, to what degree? Then I have this reciprocity, and this is also like, it's not charity, but there's also, it's pentacles. Something's coming in of value. Then I get Feast of Plenty, options, choices, and their consequences, life blessings. A giant feast is laid out before you and requires you to choose what will satisfy your hunger, something new, unconventional. I mean, this just feels like confirmation of all of our...
You guys are funny.
Yeah, so it feels like this is just confirmation of what we talked about last in your last session. It's time to like close up the burdens of what you've been doing and retreat someplace where there's, a feast of plenty. But that's only gonna happen if you make the decision to make it happen. Yeah.
It feels like he takes the burden off a lot of people too, and like he brings a lot of healing to people, but he loves doing that.
Yes.
He loves bending people's hearts, maybe, possibly.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Oh, you want an occupational therapist too? Listen, you call me. I'll bring my best Tanya Hardin game. We'll get you to an occupational physical therapist real quick, Juan. I'm from New York. You need something done? You call me.
I'm from Boston.
We can give you the whole Tanya Harding treatment. We get you an occupational therapist just like that.
Can't get myself.
The services here are full service. He knows I'm kidding. Okay. Yeah, I think that's very, very interesting. Did anybody else have any questions?
That's it.
That's right. Just a little phone call and things get done.
Yeah.
I will happily go eat. I will be live Sunday doing weekly hangout. Your extended earth signs, if you're in membership, that'll be up later tonight. We're still trying to figure out Discord, FYI, because I see a lot of membership badges right now. So I'm just gonna. Okay, Nikki. We're working. Discord's still down, and I looked on TikTok. There was a bunch of videos about people saying like the chat's not, and we try to make profiles so that we wouldn't be administrators, because as administrators it didn't look down to us, so we didn't understand what everybody else was saying. They're like, oh, I can't get in the room, and I'm like, I see you in the room. So we made different profiles. One is Nikki the cat, and to try to get in the room and see what we could see from your perspective, and it's still not working. So over the next 3 days, because it's crazy for me, busy, I'm going to farming out the chat room to a different thing. We'll get it figured out by next week. There's 30 of us now, so that chat room could be so lit and so much fun. So that's all, that's getting worked on. Okay, I want to thank you all for coming along for this Gemini moon. That was really interesting that Nicole and I pulled the same card. I just kind of can't get over that. If you have any questions or you want to book
Thank you for letting me break the ice into this, because there's always going to be a first for everything, right?
Absolutely. And also, like, you know, um it can be like, I love this nice small intimate community because doing this live, pulling your astrological knowledge and all the different layers of that off the top of your head while you're live, you know, it's a lot of mathematics and again a lot of layers of information, is not easy. And then like holding the chat conversation. So I love that. I know that for people who are doing, like, whether it's guest tarot or coming on here to do like astrology lives for the first time, I love that this community is one that people can come into. Um, and it's lovely and warm, and it makes it easier to kind of do those things for the first time, because it's those first times, right? We have to start someplace.
Yes.
That's
Thank you.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was just saying thank you. Yes, thank you for making me feel safe here.
And that's my link. Nicole's links are in the QR codes. And yeah, I think that's it. That's it, guys. We'll see you soon. I'll see you Sunday. Bye.
See you Sunday.